Holocaust survivor?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Lisa Rubenstein. I was born in Amsterdam in 1925 and lived there until the 1940s. Both my parents were Jewish. My father Abraham was a businessman, and my mom Menorah stayed at home with me and my brother Noah. When World War II started, my father left to go fight the Allies with the Netherlands, leaving my mother to take care of the shop. We were always on alert for news about the war, especially about troops from the Netherlands.
So, how did you react to the news about the Holocaust?
Well, we heard about the Kristallnacht incident in Germany on November 10th. At the time, we didn't think much of it. We never expected Germany to invade the Netherlands, but in January 1940, the first people from our synagogue fled the country, fearing an attack from the Germans. The day after they left, it was all anyone could talk about at the shop.
Did you hear that the Jansons left for France last night?
Yeah, my family might do the same.
Same here. We don't want to stick around when the Germans get here.
Why would the Germans invade the Netherlands?
I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. If they did, they'd kill every last one.
From then until May, a family left almost every week. By the time the Germans invaded on May 10th, 1940, most of our synagogue had fled the country. Those of us that remained sat by helpless as the Germans enacted more and more laws against Jews. We could no longer serve in the army, but still my father did not come home. Jews were kicked out of jobs to make room for so-called Aryans.
Did your family lose the business?
Yes, but compared to what followed, that was a minor speed bump.
Hey, did you hear about this Jude's Rad thing?
No, why? What is it?
Apparently, it's some sort of Jewish council.
That doesn't sound that bad.
Oh yeah, and also we have to add our names and addresses to some sort of registry.
Jude's Rod turned out to be an organization for the deportation of Jews. It was headed by Abraham Asher and David Cohen, and began marking members of our community for deportation. The Jews that were deported were unemployed and would be put to work. In reality, that was only a camouflage for the preparatory steps that the Germans were taking toward eventual deportation. The idea behind the camps was to employ more people in Dutch factories. However, the camps were actually German forced labor camps, and the Jews that lived there worked in terrible conditions.
Did you and your family participate in the strikes in February 1941?
My mother did. She was horrified by the way the Jews were being treated.
Did you go?
My mom told me to stay in the shop with my brother.
Did you? Lisa, stay here and watch Noah for me, please.
Why? Where are you going?
I'm going to a meeting, sweetheart. Just watch Noah, please.
Where's Mom? She's at a meeting. If I asked you to stay here, would you?
Why? Where are you going?
To find out where Mom went?
I'm coming with you.
That doesn't sound like a meeting. It's not. It's a strike. Is that bad? Well, it's a bunch of people who gather together to protest something, and it usually doesn't end well.
Did your mother make it back all right?
Yes, she made it back. Her best friend was killed, though. After that, nothing was the same. Conditions for Jews only deteriorated. That summer, Jews were banned from public places. We couldn't be on the streets at night, and we could only shop from 3 to 5. But the news that really hit home for me came in August of 1941.
Mom, did you hear? They're accepting some girls to universities now. I'm 16. I could go in a few years.
Lisa,
What? It's not too expensive if I get a scholarship.
listen.
I can go, can't I?
You can't go anymore. Jews have been banned from public schools and universities. You can't go to school anymore. I'm sorry.
I didn't fulfill my dream of going to university until almost 20 years later, when I was settled in the U.S. It didn't even cross my mind again until after the 40s. There was too much else going on.
Like what?
Well, beginning in January of 1942, Jews had to carry identification and wear Jewish stars with the word Jude on them, which means Jew in Dutch. The curfews were enforced more strictly than ever, and we could no longer take public transport or use telephones. They also made a law that said we couldn't marry non-Jews.
When did they start deporting Jews to death camps?
The first raids were in June of 1942. Many members of our synagogue were captured and we went into hiding.
Where were the people that were captured sent?
Some were sent to Camp Westerbork, and most of them ended up in Auschwitz. Later that year, the death camp Sobibor was set up in Poland, and they started sending deported Jews there. If you happened to be wealthy, they sent you to special camps like Theresienstadt and Bergen-Belsen. Survival rates were higher there.
While you were in hiding, did you have any contact with the outside world?
Yeah, we had a radio that we listened to almost constantly.
Thank you for tuning in to BBC Radio. We'd once again like to thank all of our brave resistance fighters who are helping to save the lives of over 300,000 Jews marked for deportation. This is just a reminder to keep fighting the Nazis no matter what. In other news, we are still following the situation at The Hague, a city in South Holland, where the Nazis' 22nd Air Landing Division and the 7th Flieger Division have landed and are attempting to capture Queen Wilhelmina and other members of the cabinet and staff.
Hopefully we can escape safely.
It is also important to be on the lookout for air raids by the Nazis, as well as the advance of their new, faster armored tanks. It is advised that if you hear a warning over this or any radio station about the possible threat of bombing, get underground immediately, as German bombs are very strong and capable of destroying entire towns.
Mommy, are we going to be bombed?
No, sweetie, we're not going to be bombed. We're going to be just fine.
Now for an update on the ongoing Battle of Midway. American dive bombers have just attacked the Japanese flagship Akagi, and another group of dive bombers is preparing to attack the Akaga. The dive bombers hit a store of torpedoes and their ships went up in flames in seconds.
Were you excited about the Allied victory at Midway?
Yeah, it gave us some hope that the Allies might win after all. We supported the monarchy and our queen.
How long did you stay in hiding?
Until May 5th, 1945, when the Netherlands were freed in Operation Market Garden.
When did you hear about the operation?
In September 1944, shortly after the Allied troops came up with a plan. We're gonna be free! We're gonna be free!
No, we don't know that.
Yes, we do. The Allies are going to come get the Nazis out of the Netherlands on their way to Berlin.
Lisa, shh. They still have a long winter to go through, and it's going to be a cold one.
They can make it. We can't live here forever.
That was a brutal winter in North Holland. The southern provinces were freed, but the north remained under Nazi rule. It was called the Hunger Winter. Resources were scarce, and many people starved or froze to death.
Buried him beneath the willow.
On May 5th, 1945, the Allies freed the North Netherlands. Later, Anton Mussert, the leader of the National Socialist Movement and a member of the Gestapo, was arrested. In November, he was convicted of treason and was sentenced to death on December 12th. He asked Queen Wilhelmina to spare him, but luckily she refused. A year after his arrest, he was executed by a firing squad. Good riddance.
This guy wasn't very powerful in the Jewish community, was he?
No, not at all.
People don't often get to hear first-hand accounts of Holocaust survivors. How did such a tragic event affect you and your family?
It really changed the way I viewed the world. Beforehand, I assumed that everyone would be treated equally, no matter where they went. It's part of our culture to treat everyone equally. After the Holocaust, I realized that nothing was ever going to be that easy again. We never saw our father again, and later we found out that he died in a concentration camp. My mother was traumatized, so I ended up taking care of myself. I arranged for my mother and I to go live in America with our uncle. My experiences made me appreciate all we had in America so much more. I worked twice as hard as anyone else in college because I knew most girls like me never got the chance, because I knew my brother never had the chance. I ended up living a fairly successful life, but while I moved forward from the tragic events of the 1940s, I never forgot my brother, my friends, all the people who lost their lives, and how lucky I am to be here today.
This was such a touching story. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Find my way back in this life. I hope there is a way to give me a sign you're okay. Reminds me again it's worth it all, so I can go home.
Hello.
What are you
I
laughing
said
about?
synagogue. The first people from a synagogue. January 1940. The first people. That needs to go on bloopers. In January 19.
Stop that.
Sorry. The highlights you did. Jamie Forcier. Go, it's going. That needs to go on bloopers.
Alright.
Here's my cane. If you got my cane.
I feel like in this position.
What?
Like a little bit of toilet.